All right, let's bring in my panel, Sky News outsider, co-host and Herald Sun columnist Rita Panahi and Melbourne City Councillor Nick Rees. Nick, this is a question without notice. I'm going to you straight off the top after hearing what we just heard there from the Breast Cancer Network. You are influential still inside the Labor Party. Can you please get off the air tonight and give someone in Andrew's office a ring? The idea that people are palliating at home, that mums and dads are struggling with people dying at home because they're too scared to go to a hospital in Victoria, lets children not be able to go in there and say goodbye, that has got to be fixed immediately.
Peter, I'm really sorry I did miss the interview, but I will follow up with your producer after the show, and anything I can do to help, of course, I will do.
Yeah, Rita, it just breaks my heart, this idea that we can't fix these. Yes, COVID is important, but it's not the only health crisis we're facing as a country. I mean, it's just got out of control. It's absolute tunnel vision here in Victoria, isn't it? And look at those protests on the weekend and police in their jumpsuits and riot gear. I mean, what were they armed with, a banana?
The scenes from Queen Victoria Market, they're just shocking, I think, for a lot of Melburnians, Victorians who know and love that market, to see that sort of police presence with riot gear going through the aisles, collecting shoppers, stall holders, as well as the protesters. I think that was just appalling. We've seen what I think could accurately be described as acts of police brutality over the last 48 hours that will need to be properly investigated. And as for the other consequences, yes, you're right, this tunnel vision, I've been writing about this for months because the experts, the medical experts, have been warning us that this preoccupation with one virus is going to lead to a cancer crisis because people aren't getting those cancer screenings. They're not presenting for blood tests. They're not getting that early intervention. And now from that interview, people at the end of their lives are also not getting the care they should be because they're terrified they're going to be separated from their family and won't even have someone there with them at the very end. I just think we've got to have some perspective in dealing with this pandemic, and we've seemed to have completely lost that.
Nick, there's a lot of speculation that all of Melbourne's big sort of summer calendar of events will go. The Prime Minister, the Premier made some comments today, sort of kept it all on the simmer, wouldn't rule anything out in terms of the tennis and the Boxing Day test. It's likely that the Melbourne Cup will be run, but there just won't be any people there. Carols by Candlelight is likely to be scrapped. That's the word that's out there. You might be able to confirm that, being on the Melbourne City Council. We know the Myer Windows, been there since 1956. They've been canned this year. Come on, surely we can find a way that we can live with this virus, or is there nothing to look forward to for Victorians until, 2025 or something? No, maybe 2022 when Labor's kicked out of power, but I mean, seriously.
Well, look, you had me right up to the end there, Peter. I mean, look, Melbourne is major events town. Melbournians turn out to major events in record numbers. And so if you're putting on a major event, you know you can stage it in Melbourne and you'll fill a stadium. Of course, this year, because of the COVID restrictions, there are challenges. Look, I'm buoyed by the fact that the Premier does seem quite bullish. You know, he's talking very optimistically about the Boxing Day test. He's still talking optimistically about the Australian Open. So we will see. In terms of the Myer Windows, you know, I went to them as a kid. I take my kids to them.
You are dreaming.
The Myer department store has come out and said that they plan not to stage them this year. But you'll be pleased to know, Peter and Rita, that the City of Melbourne is in talks with Myer, and we may be able to find an alternative model for or way of staging those. And we haven't given up on the New Year's Eve fireworks yet. We're still looking at alternative options there, although, look, I've got to admit, it is uncertain. But we, like you, are desperately, desperately keen to see these events go ahead and see them go ahead safely.
Yeah, well, I'll leave my hat on air if any of them go ahead. I have to say, Nick Rees, I don't think any promises will be kept by the government. Rita, I've got to ask you, Queensland is refusing to sign up to a national register of sex offenders if the Premier stays in power after the election. It's being supported very strongly by Peter Dutton. It would identify 20,000 convicted sex offenders and where they live on the register. Bruce Morecambe, father of the abducted and murdered Daniel, as we know, has said it would make a difference in terms of deterrent if the worst of the worst know they're publicly accessible on a register. they're less likely to commit a premeditated offence. Now, in Queensland, I have to say, you have to be told if your neighbour has a dangerous dog, but it doesn't apply to a dangerous human being. That doesn't seem fair, Rita.
I just can't believe there'd be any mainstream government, mainstream party in this country that would be against this policy. What precise demographic are they pandering to here? Surely the interest of families and children remaining safe is the most important thing, and whatever ideological issues you have with a register like this should be set aside when we're talking about children's safety.
Absolutely right. I've got to leave it there. Rita Panahi and Nick Rees, thank you for your time.